Hello, everyone. I'm Christina, and times are getting rough. Times are getting hard. And we've been talking about prepping for a very long time. However, the bills are starting to pile up. Everything is so expensive that what takes you 2 weeks to earn might be spent in one. Hold on just a second. I just have to take care of something over here super fast. There we go. I think that's it. Sorry, that is just so rude of me, isn't it? I'm so sorry. Anyway, so what I've decided that would be a good time to just go ahead and talk about ways that we can start preparing ourselves, like getting active and start saving money right now to get into, because we're going into a new way of life. There is a countdown on a clock that is ticking, and we may have all these supplies, but if we haven't started using them yet, we should, because right now is really the time to start using them. One, the weather is always bad. For some reason, something is always popping up. Earthquakes, things coming from the sun. I mean, there's always something, isn't there? So it's really best to keep the preps that you have ready and learn some additional ways to start saving that money. And it may be a little bit harder, but it also really causes a lot of relief in your life. We've got to understand that this grid's going down. So we've got to start practicing living off grid. Practice. I don't want y'all going and dying in the mountains. That's not what I'm talking about. But I will tell you what I am talking about. Hello, Nancy. Thank you for the thumbs up, you guys. Real quick, links are in the description box for Daily Excellence and Off Grid with Desert Farming with Paul and Adrian. I do have a PayPal account and a Buy Me a Coffee account if you want to help, as well as one backup account currently, Odysee, for my own channel. Now, today temperatures are going to be 105 today for me and 106 tomorrow. Okay, but it's not just the temps. It's the stock market crashes, the magnetic issues, the grid issues, the lockdowns. Tip number 1, cook less with electric appliances by switching to alternatives as much as possible, such as your solar ovens, your barbecue grills, even if it's a hot sidewalk and a skillet. That's a joke in most cases. But try using other alternatives besides electricity to cook your food. I've been cooking on my barbecue pit for probably a good 2 weeks now, because not just because it'll help the grid and my extremely high light bill, but because it won't heat up the inside of my house. I can cool the inside of my house better, easier. Okay. It's been working for me. It's been working for me. My last light bill was $180. And that was using all the stuff that I had. I'd hate to see what it would have been. Solar light bulbs. There are some on sale from Amazon. I personally just like the ones that don't have cords, that have little solar panels on them. You just hang them up. They're not expensive. At night when I'm barbecuing, I put those solar light bulbs up, free electricity. It's almost free to cook on my barbecue with the charcoal, because it's several meals for one bag with that charcoal, right? Use your backup solar generators as much as possible. I am in the afternoons charging fans, charging computers, charging phones. I'm even use my fans on there, just sometimes a TV, whatever. It's just whatever we want to use extra. In addition to the AC, we'll put it on the solar battery. But I'm getting into practice. I know how long it takes my batteries to charge up. I know how fast I need to put them out there, the direction the sun goes throughout the day. I know those things, and that's something you should know too. Hand washing and dry clothes, line dry clothes. That's tip number 4. This is something that I was doing as a kid because my grandma had been doing it, and she taught me, and her grandparents did it. They didn't let clothes pile up. They would wash their clothes and they would hang them up to dry every single morning. Okay, I know that's hard, but where I live, because I live in an RV, and some of you might live in apartments or whatever reason you might have to go to a washateria. Right now, for me, it's $5.50 a load for a small washer, and that's a washer and dryer. You know what I mean? Start, if you can, hand wash and line dry your clothes. Hot water bottles instead of electric heating pads and electric blankets. We've got to get off the electricity, because not only for the reasons that I said, but because electricity with the magnetic pole reversal and our shields being down can be a fire hazard more and more, including your phones. Hi, sunshine. Oh, wow. You were actually notified for a video for once. That's amazing. See, I don't know if y'all are if y'all have seen what we've been heading into, if your bills are getting a little bit higher than your paycheck lately. I don't know if you've noticed that, because I have. Okay. Tip number 5, unplug anything that you aren't using, like coffee pots, Xboxes. Unplug them, because a lot of these things, they're plugged in. Even if they're turned off, they still use electricity all day long. Unplug them if you don't need them. Think about investing in rechargeable batteries for like alarm clocks instead of plugging your clock into a wall, especially like when you have a power outage and you have to get up and go somewhere in the morning, your alarm didn't go off. In this case, you would have batteries for the alarm clock. It's not plugged into a wall. And if you have rechargeable batteries, right? Just batteries are great for anything. There's so many things. Batteries. Also, the things that you use on a regular basis as tools that are electrical, you need to start converting. Easy one. If you have an electrical can opener, get rid of it. Just use the hand crank from now on, because even in a hurricane, that electrical can opener ain't going to work anyway. And you can use electricity 1,000 times on that thing, opening a can, or you can hand crank it yourself for free. Just saying. It adds up. All of this adds up. Turn off any light you don't need. This is one I've been really wanting to get into as soon as I can, to replace gas push lawnmowers with the old-fashioned little blade ones. You know, you just push them and it has little blades in the circle and it just cuts the grass. Like, I think it was a 50s type lawnmower. I'd rather have one of those, you know, for anyway. Tip number 11, begin the process of the hand cranking for the can openers, that's one thing. But when it comes to the also switching to electrical tools, I'm talking about like for your craft, like for wood carving, antiques, house building, just, you know, to get those hand tools that they used back in like the 1800s, because they still have a lot of that stuff. Start converting whatever your trade is. If you have tools that are electrical, start converting back into what our grandparents had. Okay. Tip number 12, ride a bicycle for short distances in decent weather. Oh my gosh, I can't believe the phone's actually ringing. That would happen. Hello, Ispy. Your grandpa had one of those lawnmowers. I've always been fascinated by them. Hold on just a second. No, it is not still ringing. I'm sorry. That's like the second time I've had to get up, huh? Okay, where were we? Yeah, if you've got a bicycle and it's a short distance, I remember they did stories about how when people first got cars, they would drive from their driveway to the next door neighbor's house because they were so happy about their car, when they normally would have walked. If it's something short and you've got a bike, start getting on that bike. Start getting that bike, the wheels, the chain, everything set back up on your bike. They're hard to push and you have to keep blades sharp on the push mowers. Well, yeah. But it'll get us into shape. Those of us who don't have serious medical problems or seriously advanced in age, that would probably be a good workout. I mean, if you think about it, if everything were to fall apart, that'd really all we have to mow this lawn, because snakes are going to come in where high grass is. I mean, good night. Any kind of load of critters could be in there. I mean, otherwise, you'd have to cut it with scissors or shears, So it might be rough, but what if we had nothing else? And that's what we do, is we prepare for the future. Hello, Yvonne. Okay, ISPI is Yvonne. I'm going to try to remember that. Might take me a little while, but I'm going to try very hard, Yvonne, because I try to remember all of y'all's actual names versus your handles. So, or I Spy. Is that what it's supposed to be? I Spy? Why? Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad to know that. Okay, cool beans. Hello, Tracy. Hiya. I like that. Hiya. All right. All right. So, riding a bicycle or walking. Walking won't hurt. Block intense light with reflector panels or blackout curtains in your house to reduce the strain on your AC. Because really, when it comes down to it in the summer, that's the biggest thing, is that machine trying to heat or cool your house. Usually the AC is trying to cool. But if you get them blackout curtains while the sun is doing its rotation around your house, it's going to keep it cool all the way around. And I noticed that, I can see where the sun rotates for my house because of my panels. And I noticed that, like, back this way, that's when it's in this area, it's nighttime. There is no sun. But during the day, it'll start here and it'll go all the way around. It's like a rotisserie. Yeah, so you want to black those windows. Blackout curtains are great. Become super familiar with your local farmers' businesses. If you're seeing problems at the grocery store with shortages, see, I told y'all before, and I'll tell you, I have to remind y'all, your local farmers, if y'all don't support them, they might be your only lifeline at some point, because, and that's how it used to be. Big business took over little business, and everything is being reversed. So we've got to go back to little business. We have to go, whether you like it or not, that's the way it's going to be. We're going back to the way things were in order to survive, because they might have a grid, but you got to give up your whole soul and your family and everybody to get on that grid at some point, whoever owns it. This is later in the future, but that's where it's heading. So where is that going to leave the rest of us? The more independent we become, the less dependent we come on them, the less control they will have over our lives and our finances and our decision making, because this is an important time. Oh, wow. Yeah, I see you've got that smart thing hooked up to your the government, your electric hook. A lot of people do the smart meters, and they control everything. They do. And that's where we've got to start getting away from. I like it in the afternoons when it's getting its hottest and it's sustained for several hours. My converter's not taking that, but I've got backup, and I feel good, because not only do I have the electricity I need, but it's free. It came completely from the sun. All I had to do was put the panels and the battery out there, and the afternoon is free. As I get closer to a storm, though, I'm going to make sure all my batteries get up to 100, because you can go days without power, in at least a few days without any sun coming through, depending on how bad the storm is, right? Before you can recharge. You don't know if you can even put your batteries out if there is flooding. Yes, charcoal and lighter fluid in those clicky lighters, extended clicky lighters for the grills. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even wood. Right now, wood is cheap. And we've got a place around the corner here. They have, I forget what they call it, like, a bundle of wood. They have a name for it. But I've been wanting to go over there and spend $10 or $20 to get some wood, just in case. What if charcoals goes broke next? I could pick up sticks, but the thing about that is, in the winter, the wood's wet. So whatever you get, you have to get it ahead of time and keep it dry. But yes, it's a lot cheaper because propane's gone up too. It is a lot cheaper to get a pretty decent sized bag of charcoal and cook your afternoon meals or whatever, how morning meals, whatever meals you want outside. It's a lot cheaper. Thank you, Sunshine. Thank you so much. Yeah, I don't like them. Hi, Diane. I don't like them smart meters. Yes, absolutely. Stock up on that charcoal. I even got my barbecue pit from a neighbor that was moving out and didn't want it. They didn't want to throw it in the garbage. It was just a little thing. It's not the size of your pit. It's really, really not. You got a pit? Use that thing. It's just Mia and I here anyway, and I can't tell you how much food I have been cooking on that thing. And it's so much better than on the stove. I'm not gonna lie. It's like restaurant style. It's juicy and it's got all barbecue because the charcoal I've been getting, it's got like barbecue flavoring and woods and certain wood in there, like hickory or whatever. I had like bourbon charcoal, and then I got the onion, garlic, paprika charcoal. Oh my gosh. You try cooking your food, your meats, your chickens, rabbits, whatever. Put it on there. Oh my gosh. Dinner's been luxurious. And the same ingredients I've been using, so think about it. Only have one bag of charcoal, but planning on getting more. Right now it's water, food, medicine. Stock up on. Yes. Yes. Speaking of medicine, that was tip number 15. Brush up on your first aid and update your first aid kit. You want to check expiration dates and understand that you need to brush up on your first aid because local public servants may be super busy in a state declared emergency, or they may not be able to get to you due to flooding or whatever. And your child, your mama, your husband's sister, somebody may be badly hurt, burned, whatever. Do you have the gauze? Do you know what you can use to stop a bleed, like a tie, a belt, a shoestring? Brush up on your CPR. How many palpitations do you do before you give them a couple of breaths? What do you do before you give someone CPR? You have to check and make sure they're not breathing and their heart's not pumping, because you don't do CPR if they're still breathing with a heart pumping. You don't do that. But it's things like that you should know. You need to make sure, like aloe vera. I think burns are going to be very common. Calamine lotion, because I think a lot of people are going to be forced outside in the elements in some cases. Bugs, poison ivy, cotton balls, Q-tips, peroxide while it's still cheap. You know what I'm saying? Allergy medication, pain medication. They even have like lidocaine for the teeth that you can buy. Maybe clove oil too for the teeth, in case of an emergency. Think about those things. And that way you will survive better. Most of all, practice, practice, practice. I know a lot of you lead full lives, but what you do is you start, instead of cooking on that stove, you cook on the grill. You see what I mean? And instead of turning on your light switch, you turn on a solar light bulb instead, because you charged it in the window all day or whatever. But those cents add up. That little bit every single day, month after month, all of that adds up a lot, and you become more self-sufficient. And while Texas is out there screaming about their grid, okay, like this article right here, it came out yesterday. Texas avoids rolling blackouts during evening grid emergency. Just yesterday, somehow Texas avoided rolling blackouts. But you didn't hear about this in the news yesterday afternoon. ERCOT has called on generators to push all available electricity to the grid as rising demand threatens to surpass the state's power supply. Too many people have moved to Texas. The grid cannot handle this. All these houses and apartments being built, the grid's not expanding with it. And we're having space issues affecting our grids. Like I said, stock market is a grid, water grids, all these grids. But this is about, of course, the state power supply. But Texas is just an example of what's happening all over the world and what we're going to expect in the future. The article goes on to say the state's power grid operator triggered its emergency operations on Wednesday evening, allowing it to call on all available power generation to stay ahead of demand and bringing it closer than it's been all summer to a worst case scenario of ordering rotating power outages. The Electric Reliability Council of Texas got through the tight stretch without having to call for power cuts to customers in order to prevent the grid from being severely damaged. Intense heat this summer has tested grid operators, repeatedly forcing them to turn to backup tools to keep operations running smoothly. I'm not going to read the whole article, but it does say that the afternoon and evening hours tend to be the tightest as people return home from work and crank down their thermostats. I don't think that's it. Actually, living here, the evening is when it's the hottest. It's just so hot from like 3 to 8 o'clock. That's why. And that's what I'm saying. Those blackout curtains, I have pillows, blankets, all blackout curtains on a lot of my windows. And I even have like that new canopy, that's a big square 10 by 10 canopy. When I get some money, I'm going to get another one because it's too hot. That sun just, there's no shade in this neighborhood, not in ours. The trees are dying. All right. Then the second article came out this morning. Texas just got closer to blackouts than it has been since 2021. What happened? Over a summer of record-breaking heat and energy use, the Electric Reliability Council of Texas has frequently called on Texas to voluntarily conserve power to shore up the grid. But on Wednesday, ERCOT went much further, entering into emergency operations for the first time since 2021 and introducing the possibility that rolling blackouts may be necessary to stabilize the Texas power system. They're saying this still is a possibility. The evening started as many before it with a conservation call. Starting around 6 p.m., ERCOT asked people to voluntarily keep their AC turned down and not run big appliances. Then the call came, the group said, as heat drove energy demand up and wind power was forecasted to be low. These calls for conservation are one option to the grid operator has to help balance energy supply and demand on the grid. That was yesterday. And more, they say it in the article, they expect more of that in the future. You should expect more in the future. And so the more you do now, it's not just practice for the future. It's saving today. It's also, it's one thing if you can practice, and then when whatever happens, it's not a big deal because you've already been kind of working that angle anyway. Versus when it's just a sudden jump from cold water to hot, it's going to be a shock if there's not some kind of implementation. And the rewards you start getting for that come in right away when you're like, wow, I charged all of these things, I used all of these lights, and none of it, I cooked all this food, none of it is going to come back on my light bill. And it happens every day. Oh yeah, you get to liken that. You sure do. All right. I hope I didn't keep you too long. As usual, thank you for the thumbs up. Share the videos out, like, subscribe. And if there's ever background noise, usually it's in the summer and it's my AC. Sorry about that. I love y'all, and I will talk to you soon. God bless you all. Bye.